What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It is your boy Kevin Forte coming to you with a breaking news video. So, the Vancouver Canucks making their move. There's been so many rumors this week. It would have been so easy to make a video talking about how the Carolina Hurricanes or the New York Rangers or whatever team was been talked and linked to Elias Pettersson this week. But that is all put to bed, as the Vancouver Canucks have signed their star forward to an 8-year, $92.8 million contract that's going to be paying him $11.6 million per season. We're going to take a look at that deal today, the details, all of that stuff. So if you like this video, want to see more videos like it, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, stay tuned for our weekend live streams. I try to do at least one live stream per weekend. And of course, as we get closer to the trade deadline, which Vancouver can be more excited about with this off of their back, make sure to stay tuned to the channel because we'll be giving you guys updates. So with that out of the way, let's get into this. So, Elias Pettersson, 2017 5th overall pick. We know the verdict of that draft, right? It was one of those things where, you know, Nico Hischier, Nolan Patrick, Miro Heiskanen, Cale Makar, and Elias Pettersson. And you look at that top 10, how things have kind of fallen. You know, of course, Nico Hischier is pretty good. Nolan Patrick, he's retired, semi-retired. You can't say it legally, but so Nico Hischier, Miro Heiskanen, Cale Makar. Okay, three of those four players ahead of Elias Pettersson, pretty good hockey players. Right after Elias Pettersson, Cody Glass, Elias Anderson, Casey Middlestat, and Michael Rasmussen. Vancouver dodged a bullet on that, right? To say the least. So, you know, the way things have kind of transpired with Elias Pettersson, you know, the Canucks are very fortunate with, you know, I know the Jim Benning era was always looked at as kind of a negative, but he did a really good job drafting. For all the things that were wrong with Jim Benning and the issues with the Jim Benning era, one of the bright spots was his ability to draft. And Elias Pettersson was a prime example of that. An underaged, or an undersized Swedish kid, right? You didn't really know what you were going to get there, but things have worked out, and they have worked out really well. And really up until this week, there was a lot of talk about what was going to be the future of Elias Pettersson. Would he stay in Vancouver? Would he not? He really wasn't talking much, so there was a lot of questioning of, did he really have any desire or real commitment to staying in Vancouver? And then, of course, the other day, right before things really kind of, you know, got to a point where it was like, all right, it's either shit or get off the pot. The Carolina Hurricanes apparently had a deal for Elias Pettersson. Like, it got to the point where teams were actively calling Patrick Allvin and the Canucks management and saying, listen, we want a deal here. We want this guy. If you're not going to re-sign him, what's the status? And, you know, whether it was Patrick Allvin rejected the trade and things fell through, or they were just able to come to an agreement with Elias Pettersson, or it might have been just one of those situations where it was a kind of a negotiation tactic by the Canucks. I don't really know. Either way, it is all done now. So coming into this situation, and you know, you got to look at the accolades of what Elias Pettersson has done in his career. So his first season as a rookie, he picks up 28 goals, 38 assists, 66 points in 71 games. He was basically a point per game season in the next season for the Canucks. And during that playoff run when they went to the Western Conference Finals, he did really well. He picked up 18 points in 17 games. So he, you know, he's only played in one playoff, one playoff season with the Canucks. Every other season they've missed the playoffs. But when he's been with the team and in the playoffs, things have gotten pretty well. Now, you look at the next season, he kind of had a drop-off. He had 21 points in 26 games. You know, obviously that was the pandemic year. The following season, he followed that up with 68 points in 80 games. So it was like, all right, well, you know, considering he had basically the same amount of points in 14 less games in the 2019-20 season, you were a little bit worried about Elias Pettersson. Not that it was a genuine concern, but you were like, all right, the kid's not progressing. Well, all that talk went to bed last season because in 80 games last season, he picked up 39 goals, which was a career high for Pettersson, and 63 assists, which gave him 102 points and led the way for the Vancouver Canucks, was a huge part of the Canucks' success last season, and despite missing the playoffs once again, he really is a guy that really fueled this team into what they were expecting to be a good season this year. And so far, that's been the case. He's been well above a point per game player, and he's on pace to probably break that, point record that he had set last season. He's already got 75 points in 62 games, which is incredible. He's on pace right now for around 110 to 120 points, which is not something that I would take lightly. That is really, really solid. And if he gets to that 110-point mark, the Vancouver Canucks could probably be finding themselves in the playoffs. And that's if they don't add at the deadline. And things could get even better for the Canucks up to that point. So now that we've talked about the history of Elias Pettersson, what is the contract and the details? Because that's what you guys are probably here for. So let's get right down to it. So it's an 8-year deal. Like I said, $92.8 million over the next 8 years for Elias Pettersson. Now, you also have the remainder of this year on his contract. So the remainder of this year, and then in the fall, this new contract kicks in. Well, I guess July 1st is when this contract officially begins. And that's when he's going to see a nice little paycheck raise. So, here's the breakdown. 8 years, right? 7 of those years, he has a full no movement clause. Now, 7 of those years, it is between years 2 to 8. Which means year 1, the 2024-2025 season, which is next season, he has no trade protection at all, which is, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Keep an eye out because the details on that might change. But at the recording of this video from Cap Friendly, it has no trade protection for Elias Pettersson in the first year of that deal. Now, the cap hit comes out to $11.6 million per season. That is an AAV of 11.6. He has a signing bonus the first year. It's $12 million signing bonus, so he's going to get a nice little paycheck on July 1st. Next year, he'll be getting $10 million on July 1st. He has no signing bonus in year 3. Not sure why that is, but that's just the way the salary kind of worked out. And then the signing bonus, it ends up being $5 million in year 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And his base salary goes down dramatically. So that signing bonus, that $12 million signing bonus up front, is a large portion of his salary because the final year of his salary, his actual salary payout is going to be $3.7 million, which is a little bit odd, but that's going to be the total payout for his base salary. But of course, that's in the 2031-2032 season. He'll be 33 years old, so we're not really worried about that right now. So of course, you might be looking at the number, $11.6 million. That is high. That is a big number. And, when we compare this contract from Cap Friendly, shout out to Cap Friendly, the interesting thing you have to look at with Elias Pettersson is, a guy that I look at in particular is John Tavares, because he signed $11 million, right? He signed an $11 million contract a couple years ago with the Leafs. It makes you probably feel pretty good about yourself that you're paying $11.6 to Elias Pettersson. And yes, the number seems high today. And that number is going to be high, but you have to remember, you're buying unrestricted free agency years of Elias Pettersson. And this is a guy that is going to give you at least 100 points a season. I just don't see for the foreseeable future, maybe until that contract ends, I don't think we're going to see any bit or very small regression of Elias Pettersson. And especially the way his game is. I remember watching guys like Andrew Ladd, Milan Lucic getting 6, 7, 8-year contracts. Those are the guys that you should be worried about. Andrew Ladd, more recently, even a guy like Anders Lee on the Islanders. And yes, I know 2 of those contracts were Islanders. But those power forward guys, when you sign them to those 6, 7, 8-year deals, you should be genuinely concerned. Because usually when you're signing those guys at the time of the signing, that's as good as it's going to get for those guys. And the beating and the bruising that those bodies take, I don't care if you're Iron Man or Superman, there is some kind of kryptonite out there that will get you down at some point within that 8-year span. And your production will never be to that level. Well, the way Elias Pettersson's game is, because he is a smaller player, which some will say, well, maybe maybe he's more prone to injury. I think he's just more avoidant. He's not going to put himself in situations where he's dropping the gloves 2 or 3 times a season, maybe once a season, right? It's an 82-game schedule. It's a long season, maybe once, maybe twice a year. But he's not going to be fighting. He might be blocking shots, but so is everybody else on the ice. He's not going to be banging his body into the boards, laying out big hits and anything like that. You're not going to see that from Elias Pettersson. That's not his game. And that's a good thing because I don't think that is something that is going to be susceptible to a ton of injuries. Now, of course, there is always the possibility of what if, right? Maybe he takes a shot block, that ends his career. Or maybe he gets a stick to the face. Like, that is hockey. That could happen to anybody. But if there are players that are more prone to getting injured, I would say Elias Pettersson on that scale is much on the lower end of that scale. And I think that's a good thing, especially when you sign to a guy to almost $12 million per season. He's going to be the highest paid player on the Canucks starting next season. The only other player near him is JT Miller, who's making $8. So this is this is the thing now. Elias Pettersson got paid. The contract negotiations were a little bit spotty up until the end, right? But Canucks fans probably aren't too upset with him. The difference is the expectations are going to be much higher for Elias Pettersson because now the fan base and the management are saying, listen, buddy, you're making $11.6 million now. You got to produce. And his contract has been very fair. He's making $7.35. For the numbers he's putting up are really good. And this season is one of the best contracts value-wise in the entire National Hockey League. But that's going to very quickly change. He's going to be paid more close to what he's worth next season. And you look at guys like Panarin around that same similar number. I think he's making 11 or 11.6, right around that range. So guys around his level, he's making pretty good money compared to some of those guys, and his value, he's a very good young player. This is a good contract for the Canucks. I think they're very happy with this deal. I think they should be. There's max protection, an 8-year deal. I think it's just very, the way things kind of went down, it's Vancouver, right? So until the deal is done, there's always going to be rumors and trade rumors and the crazy Canuck fans coming out, which I love you guys. You guys are either love my content or you hate my content. I'm all about it. You guys are very, you guys are very passionate fans up there in Vancouver, and one way or the other, it is a good thing for the game. And I think that Elias Pettersson knows the expectation now. It's gonna be very high. There is no shortcuts about it. Like, things are going to be tough for him in the fall, and the expectation is going to be heavily raised. There are veterans on this team that will be able to help him. There's other players around him, some supporting guys, but it's going to come down to Petey starting in the fall and at least till the end of this season as well. So his contract, the cap percentage, is actually just under 14% of the Canucks' salary on the books. He's making just under 14% of the team's salary. So this is a good day for Canucks fans. I'm sure they're very happy about it. It's a good move for this team. Now now that this is out the window, they don't have to worry about whether Elias Pettersson is staying or going or worry about what's going on in the summer. Now they could figure out what little moves they need to make before the deadline. What additions can we make to try to get first place in the division so we don't have to play the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round of the playoffs? That's really what it comes down to now for the Vancouver Canucks. That's what they could set their focus on. They're a really good team this year. This is what I was hoping to see from Vancouver last year and the year before that. I've been waiting 2 years to see this Vancouver Canucks team, and it looks like they're finally there. And now they've got, a healthy Thatcher Demko. Elias Pettersson is back on his game. He's in his prime. He's just getting into his prime. This is a really exciting time for the Vancouver Canucks and their fan base. It's been a couple of really tough years for them. They've only made the playoffs once in the Elias Pettersson era. I expect it to be 2 once we are done with this playoff season this spring, because I think the Canucks are going to be a team to be messed with in the playoffs this year. So we'll see how things go. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of the Vancouver Canucks signing Elias Pettersson to this contract? I'm going to assume you guys, for the most part, are going to say it's a good contract, but I want to know your guys' thoughts down below. Make sure to follow, like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Peace out, guys.